videos for my clients only anyway. So once again, whether you guys have been with me for a short period of time or a long time, for men and women, I'm always really prioritizing or saying BMR, your basal metabolic rate. And that is just the rate of which you burn calories, the amount of calories you burn every day, just in general. So I want to quickly, before I lose my train of thought, go over how you would calculate this. And it is called the Catch-McArdle formula. So basically, you are calculating your lean body mass by subtracting your body fat weight from your total weight. That will give you basically the weight of everything minus your body fat weight. This is what the formula would look like. So it would be your lean body mass. That will be calculated by taking the number 1 and then subtracting it by the percentage of body fat that you have on you. So let's just say, for example, if I am 174 pounds and I am about 17% body fat. Now, for any of you just kind of trying to determine your body fat percentage, there are ways. Usually I'll go over that with each client, so I'm not too worried about that. But you could roughly base it off of the BMI chart, although antiquated. There are bioelectrical impedance devices that I have that we can use to determine your body fat percentage. But for all intents and purposes, let's just say, for example, I'm 174 pounds and 17% body fat. So my lean body mass would be calculated using this formula above, right below. So it would be 1 minus 0.17, which would be my body fat percentage expressed in decibel numerals. And that will give me this number. I would take this number and I would multiply that by my total weight. So by doing that, this would determine that I have 144.42 pounds of lean body mass on me, compared to 174 pounds of my total body weight. So from here, you would be switching over to, you would be converting it into kilograms. So the formula to calculate the BMR in the end will be, I would take that 144, let's just say 144 even, for sake of numbers. 144, because there's 2.2 pounds in every kilogram, this would equal 65 kilos. So 65 kilos is 144 pounds. This would be the formula I would use to determine my BMR. You would take the number 370. You would add that to this right here. So you would take 21.6, the number 21.6, you would multiply that in kilograms, your total lean body mass, which I have 65 kilos of lean body mass on me. And the resulting number would be 1774, expressed in calories. So that would be the average calories that I am burning every day, just BMR, strictly speaking. Now, if we are, again, we are doing this, let's just say, this whole thing is assuming that I am trying to lose weight and gain muscle, so I am cutting, which is the majority of people if you're just a guy watching this and you just want to gain and you're skinny, or you just don't care and you just want to get fat anyway and strong, ignore all of this. But once you know your BMR number, then you can calculate your total daily energy expenditure number, which is TDEE. So for those of you, and again, these are mildly rough estimates, but pretty on point. So you would calculate your total daily energy expenditure by multiplying it as follows. So if you exercise 1 to 3 hours a week, and when I say exercise, I mean the right way. Resistance training, you're putting in hard hours in the gym. You're not just dicking around. So if it's 1 to 3 hours a week, you multiply that by 1.2. 4 to 6 hours a week, which is where a lot of people land on average, would be you multiply that by 1.35. I would say on the higher end for guys or girls that are just in the gym a lot or are doing like 2 a days for sports or whatever, you multiply that by 1.5. So I have expressed that in calories here. So if I exercised 1 to 3 hours a week, it would be 2,128 calories a day. If I exercised 4 to 6 hours a week, which that's roughly about where I am, it's going to come out as 2,349 calories a day. And then if I was just a gym rat, I mean, one could say I'm just lifting all day, period. But that would be 2,661 calories. So for me, it would probably fall in between 23 and 2,600. I would say more on the 2,300 side. So maybe I would just roughly estimate that as 2,400 calories a day that I would want to take in a day if I was trying to lose weight and build muscle. Right now, I am currently not trying to lose weight, even though I am probably at around 17% body fat. I just took a high estimate there. So that is the formula. I don't know if you can see this on the screen, but hopefully if you can, just play it on a bigger screen. I don't know what to tell you. So those are the numbers. Now, I wanted to also talk about the variables that can affect all of this. This is nice and pretty. This is math. You can't argue with the math. I don't know who Catch is. I don't know who McArdle is, but their formula works. So I want to take a look at, or tell you about some of the variables that can affect these numbers just overall. I'm just talking from a broad perspective. So one would be age, unfortunately for me, which is not getting better by the day. But generally, as you get older, especially after the age of 30, I would say your BMR will generally decrease with age because of just a loss of total lean body mass, except if you're training correctly, which hopefully if you're my client, you are. But more importantly, changes in hormonal and neurological processes, and there are a lot of them. But I would say the biggest ones, for all intents and purposes of the video, will be the amount of testosterone and estrogen levels in both men and women. Both the balance between the two in men and women, and the total amount of each. Genetics. One thing everybody hates to hear is, unfortunately, genetics do play a large part in all of this. So I'll just speak in terms of just metabolism. Some people, they just have a higher metabolism than other people. It is just in their genetic makeup. Nothing we can do about that. So I briefly put NEAT in here, which is non-exercise activity and thermogenesis. I'll explain that down below. I did break this one down a little bit more, and that's sleep. So sleep aside, I'm sure you've all heard the negative effects of sleep. I don't get great sleep. It's just been a problem I've had my entire life. This is what it affects. So if you are sleep deprived, meaning you are getting less than 7 hours of sleep a night. And when I say 7, like say they recommend 7 to 8, 7 to 9, that means you're already asleep. And then you're asleep for 7 hours. There's a large difference between 6 hours of sleep and 7 hours of sleep, but for all intents and purposes, to keep moving along, lack of sleep, altered hormone levels that can affect things like cortisone, ghrelin, which is controls your hunger. So if those levels rise, you're just going to be hungrier in general, and you're going to have a tendency to want to eat more just crap. Whereas leptin is satiety. So that would mean feelings of fullness. Those levels will go down. So you'll just feel more hungry in general. And when you do eat, you're just not going to feel as full as you normally would for as long as you would. Just strictly adherence to exercise and just general lowered activity levels. That could be, well, I didn't get any sleep, so I'm not going to go to the gym today. Or if I go to the gym, I'm not going to put as much effort in. Or just activity levels in general. Yeah, I was going to go plant flowers or something today, which would have, increased my overall energy expenditure for the day. But I'm not, because I've got no sleep. Some impaired glucose metabolism, which will affect your insulin sensitivity, and then decreased muscle protein synthesis, and an increase in muscle tissue breakdown. Obviously, decreased muscle protein synthesis is not something we want, especially just how important protein is in general in your diet. So body composition, just in general, from a broad perspective, the more muscle mass you have on you, the higher your BMR. Once again, muscle tissue will burn more calories at rest compared to fat tissue. Hormones. So this ties into a lot of the other ones, but hormonal imbalances. So I just put really particularly thyroid hormones will have a significant effect on your BMR. So there are a lot of, I won't go there yet, but say hypothyroidism increases BMR, while the opposite, I think I wrote the same thing, so I'm just going to go ahead and erase that there, whatever the opposite of hypothyroidism is. I can't think of the word right now. But moving along, overall body size, larger individuals usually have a higher BMR just because they have more muscle tissue just to maintain in general. Not so important, but figured I'd mention it. Temperature. So being in a cold environment can temporarily increase your BMR. I'll leave it at that. Your dietary composition, the total makeup of your overall diet. So obviously this has a large effect, but I'll go into that in another video. I did mention that certain food and beverages, particularly those with caffeine and or spicy foods, can temporarily increase BMR. Health condition. There are thousands and thousands of just diseases, underlying conditions that people can develop that can influence BMR. I just figured I would just throw that in there as a general. Obviously, if you have some type of rare disease or a common disease or whatever it is, I'm sure you know the effects of it. I figured I would just mention that here. Last but not least, again, tying into just energy expenditure. Now that we've already determined up here you know, these numbers, these calories. The last one ties right in that. So your general physical activity levels. So this includes not just the gym. So, you know, the 160 some other hours of the week that you're not in the gym, what are you doing? Your job type, and that has to do with your job type, whether it's sedentary, active, that does play a role. But the other one I would say is what is called NEAT, and that is non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So this applies to, say, whether you're just everyday little movements, just every day, well, first, just staying alive, you know, just your body just regulating its normal functions. You burn energy. It includes things like just fidgeting around, just shifting, moving, and that this again, this thermogenesis does tie in with genetics. So as unfortunate as it is to say, I could be sitting right next to somebody else and they could be burning a lot more calories. We could be doing the exact same thing in the exact same position, just say watching TV. So we're binge watching Netflix, right? We're sitting there. They could end up, by the end of 4 episodes, burning a lot more calories, say, than I would, or burning a lot less calories than I would. And again, I'm just kind of tying it in with all of these things. And I'm not, again, these aren't in order of importance. They're not. But it's just to show you all the variables that are at play when considering BMR. Which is why, you know, I always say these are good numbers to start off with, but through the process of deduction, you would take that number and you would simply subtract it or add 100 calories a day. So again, this is for cutting. So you are trying to lose weight, but either do a body recomp, well, obviously you're trying to recomposition your body, and either maintain or gain muscle mass. You would just follow this formula, take all of these variables into account. I don't know if I scroll through them too quickly or too slowly, but if you've been listening, great. If you have a short time span, it's been about 18 minutes and 17 seconds. If you can't make it through this, I don't think you're going to learn much from me or anybody else. This is not meant to be an 8-second TikTok clip. This is meant to try to teach you the processes in how you determine these kind of things. So in the next video, and I'm going to stop it here, but the next video I'll go over are just the caloric numbers for cutting and bulking. So, but I'm going to stop it there.